All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. This is where I give commentary and thoughts on all things wrestling. Thank you all for your reviews. And before I get started with the birthday reviews, I need to say something about what I saw on a clip of last night's AEW Dynamite. So, last week, CM Punk challenged MJF to a dog collar match and brought out a picture of CM Punk at an autograph stand with a young MJF. MJF came out last night and was very emotional. He talked about growing up being bullied, having ADD, and being bullied for being a Jew and whatnot, and playing football, and how he thought Punk was a hero to him. And when he left, he let him down. And he said that he promised himself that he would become a wrestler and he would become the best in the world. Now, it looked like an emotional promo on paper, but I got to be honest. I don't think I'm buying this. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of like, to me, this is like R. Kelly on Gail King, on that infamous thing that he did many years ago, not too long ago, but it's kind of like that to me. So I don't know if I'm really falling for MJF's story. I mean, this is MJF we're talking about. This is MJF, so don't fall for it, or you'll really hate him more in this character persona later on. I don't know if I believe this. Something smells fishy, but let's get on to the birthday reviews. There are two birthdays today, so I will be giving 5 of my favorite matches from each wrestler. And the first person I'm going to start with is the kiss stealing, jet flying, wheeling son of a gun, Ric Flair. Woo! Now, 16-time world champion, he's the best. Now, let's get on to my top 5 favorite matches from Ric Flair. Starting at number 5. Did I say 10? If I did, I'm sorry. Let me start at number 5. Ric Flair versus Carlito at Unforgiven 2005. And this was where he won the Intercontinental Championship from Carlito. And also, we learned a valuable lesson. Never spit on the Nature Boy. So, that's that. At number 4, we have Mr. McMahon and Ric Flair at the Royal Rumble 2002 in my former hometown of Atlanta, where Ric Flair now resides, even though he's from South Carolina. Although, moving forward, great street fight between two co-owners who could not stand each other. And fun fact, Charlotte Flair, before she had long hair, had short hair and stood at ringside in the audience, front row, recording Ric Flair kicking Mr. McMahon's backside. So, truth is, Mr. McMahon tapped out to the figure 4 leg lock. Ric Flair won the match, but because Mr. McMahon could not accept defeat, he had to do something vindictive and vengeful. So what did he do? He injected. I'm going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of poison. The NWO I'm speaking of. Moving on to number 3, we have Triple H versus Ric Flair in a steel cage match at Taboo Tuesday 2005. In the previous year, Ric Flair, in a losing bloody effort, went up against Randy Orton in the same stipulation. This year, Ric Flair had greater fortune as he defended his Intercontinental Championship against another Evolution member who turned his back on him, stabbing him in the forehead with a sledgehammer. However, Ric Flair would go on to win the match, retaining his Intercontinental Championship and winning by escaping the cage and escaping the game. So, that's number 3. At number 2, we have another good friend of Triple H, a great match at WrestleMania 24 in Orlando, Florida, with Shawn Michaels. Now, as we all know, in the early stages of 2008, Ric Flair was fighting with his career on the line because, as stipulated, by Mr. McMahon. The next match that Ric Flair would lose at the time, he would have to retire off that loss. Even though he said in the late fall to winter of 2007, he loved the business and would never retire. Mr. McMahon says otherwise. So, after successfully keeping his career intact against Randy Orton, Umaga, and MVP, he went out in a 5-star match with Shawn Michaels in a story that was kind of unfortunately like Old Yeller. I never saw that movie. I only saw peaks of it, but I never saw the end. And quite frankly, I don't think I'll ever watch that movie because of what happened. But either way, Old Yeller is something that Shawn Michaels referred to, and that match makes me dislike the Young Bucks more for mocking Shawn Michaels. Even though the match was great, Ric Flair fought dirty. He used the figure four, he brought the chops, and for the first time ever, his crossbody worked because his crossbody never works. He always gets pulled off the top rope down. I don't know why he keeps trying that. Insanity, doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. But it worked that time. Nonetheless, despite all his great efforts, it would be his last match against Shawn Michaels. And because he lost that night, he retired. But it was one of his greatest matches. And there's no greater way to go out than with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Couldn't ask for anything more. An emotional night for everyone, but still great. Let's get on to number one, and that is Ric Flair winning the Royal Rumble in 1992 from the number 3 spot. Like 2016 for the first time was in 92, where the Royal Rumble had the WWE Championship on the line. And Ric Flair came in at number 3 and outlasted everyone, including Hulk Hogan, and one of my all-time favorites, The Undertaker, who is now in this year's Hall of Fame. The same Undertaker that he would face 10 years later at WrestleMania 18 in Toronto. With Ric Flair winning the Royal Rumble, that match would get him the WWE Championship, and with a tear in his eye, this is the greatest moment. But that's my list for Ric Flair, but that's not all, because today is also the birthday of Shinsuke Nakamura. Someone call Pat McAfee real quick. That's right, the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura. I hope to see Pat McAfee on SmackDown this Friday. But either way, let's get into my top 5 matches from Shinsuke Nakamura. Starting at number 5, on an episode of SmackDown August 1st, 2017, Shinsuke went one-on-one with the face that ran the place before AJ Styles, John Cena. Can't see this. But either way, great match. Shinsuke showed great resilience going up against the 15-time champ. Actually, 16-time, tying his record with Ric Flair and being very resilient, overcoming 2 AAs to deliver a Kinshasa. I can't pronounce that correctly. Bear with me. But either way, a heck of a win to be able to defeat John Cena. And fun fact, John Cena raised his hand in a show of sportsmanship after the match and defended Shinsuke against an attack from Baron Corbin before he became Donkey Corbin with Magic Mice Moss. Either way, that's number 5. Moving on to number 4, and that is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler at Backlash 2016. And this was Shinsuke's early matches on, I don't want to say that WWE Raw or SmackDown are quote-unquote main stages. I don't want to call it the main stage because NXT is excellent too, especially during the black and gold era. It was awesome. Can't wait to see NXT get back on the road. But either way, great match between Shinsuke and Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler came up short against the artist known as Shinsuke, and it was a great match also. It was you, Dolph. You always say it should have been you. He wasn't doing it yet, but it was you. At number 3, we have an incredible match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2016, the Saturday before SummerSlam. And everyone was there in the audience. Finn Balor saw it. Charlotte Flair was there to see it. The Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch was there to see it. Everyone was there to witness NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2, and it was a match with Samoa Joe as the NXT World Heavyweight Champion going up against Shinsuke, and it was a match. I will tell you this, during the promo, I found it very funny that Shinsuke pinched Joe's nose like a clown. That was funny. But either way, great match. No one ever kicked out of the muscle buster, Joe's muscle buster, except Shinsuke. And on that same token, no one ever kicked out of the knee to face, which is Shinsuke's finisher. And it took 2 of them to put Samoa Joe down. Second one cracking Joe's jaw. But that match would win Shinsuke an NXT World Championship at the main event of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. It's an amazing match. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. Speaking of NXT, one of the things that led to him versus Samoa Joe was him against Finn Balor on an episode of NXT July 13th, 2016. It was a match between 2 icons, NXT's icons, and it was one of those both these guys matches. Both of them were amazing favorites to the crowd, and it was an excellent showing. And like John Cena, at the end of the match, Finn Balor would show Shinsuke great respect. And this was, I believe, to be Finn Balor's last match on NXT before being drafted to Raw. But I really enjoyed that one, and if you haven't seen it, it is still on YouTube, so be sure to check that one out. It is awesome. It's still on WWE's page. Just search it, type their names, and you will find it. And speaking of which, here at number 1, I actually liked this video when they had it. This is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn before conspiracy theories and all that other stuff. But this was wrestling as the fans chanted. We saw everything from both guys. All the best moves, we saw it. It was amazing. This match took place at NXT TakeOver Dallas before WrestleMania 32. Ironically, they will be at Dallas this year. But this match was amazing. It was one of those passing of the torch matches between the early NXT stars, Sami Zayn, against the new up-and-coming NXT star at the time, Shinsuke. And most of you saw the match that they had last week, which I reviewed on my episode of SmackDown with The Undertaker as the thumbnail because he's a Hall of Famer. And I announced that. But either way, last week on SmackDown, they had a great match. But the match at NXT TakeOver Dallas was 5 stars. So what do you think about my list? From Ric Flair to Shinsuke Nakamura, what are your favorite matches from both these guys, as they like to chant in NXT? What is your favorite match from the both of them? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. Also, let me know your thoughts on if you think MJF is honest, sincere, or is this just something fishy, and do I smell a load of crap? Let me know your thoughts on this video and what you think about the wrestlers. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you Friday.